Today, we're going to be talking about the two different types of athletes, how best to work with both, because once you could recognize which is which, then you could help them and your kid could also get to their full potential. I'm Marina, your host, mother of two aspiring rock climbers and wife to an extreme athlete, and we are about to dive in. Let's talk about the two types of athletes. Okay, so we've got that auto self-motivated one, that gets out there, can sit around and do practice for hours, doesn't need any other person to really help them, to motivate them. They've just got this inner fire burning. You know what? We all wish that we were like that, but the reality is, how many people do you actually know that are such self-motivators? And on top of that, kids. Let's get true. Let's get honest. Very few. Funny enough, my oldest son, he keeps on saying that he is a self-motivator and whatnot. But me and my husband see that, he's cut out his coach because he says that he knows how to do more stuff on his own versus with his coach. That may be the case. Also, COVID hit and we weren't able to do that, kind of helps, burn that fire of that auto self-motivation. But I also see that when he is with his friends, when we do sign him up with teams once in a while, he gets much more motivated and he challenges himself a lot more. He is in a little bit of a denial stage. My younger son, he just knows right off the bat, he really is not a self-motivator. He doesn't have any interest to be a self-motivator. He works best with a coach, with a team, and that is his shining spot. And obviously when he's hanging out with buddies and they are, challenging one another, but for the real practice, that intentional, disciplined action taking forth, he is great with a coach. Now, with my other son, we put him in with a coach as much as possible, but he is 18, so he does want to, be on his own a lot more. It's good to be able to have these conversations with your kid, to really sit down and be like, what works best for you, especially when they're younger. When they're much younger, you could still direct a lot of what they can do and should do. So you do have a little bit more say in that. But even when they get a little bit older, just, tell them, hey, why don't you do some on your own? But the majority of stuff, why don't we work with a coach? And let's see what the difference is. You could always compare, right? You could always see what really works. Now, my youngest son, he shines with a coach. He's literally like the coach's pet. He will do everything the coach tells him to do, even if it's on his own time, because then he is accountable to his coach. So he's a really little self-motivated, but with the coach's help and push and just accountability, he really, really shines. Now, it's important to be able to recognize this because this could also be the difference between their strength and their weakness. And you want to be focusing on their strengths a lot more, right? Like I said, with my youngest, it's his weakness. He knows he's not going to get anything done. With my oldest, I believe that his weakness is not admitting that he will shine better with a coach. The other thing is, he might be outdoing his coach. And in some of these sports, especially in extreme sports, a lot of these kids are actually better than their coaches. So you do need to understand that as well. And I'm sure that that is exactly what happened with our oldest son. And now we are looking for a much more experienced coach who could definitely take him to that next level. So have that in mind as well. Now, if you guys have any ideas and I would like to hear your own stories, please leave me messages, comments. And if you enjoyed this episode, please leave me a review, share it with your friends, and remember, it takes a strategic village to really raise your kids up and to help them become their ultimate potential.